Our bodies are constantly sending us signals. Some are loud and clear, others, not so much. But what if I told you that some of the most common, totally harmless seeming things are actually connected to one of the most bizarre and dangerous conditions a person can have? Let's get into it. So what do snoring and skipping a workout have in common? I know, it sounds like the start of a terrible joke, right? I mean, one is that annoying sound someone might make at night, and the other is, well, it's just you skipping the gym again. They feel like they're from completely different universes. But here's where it gets interesting. On the surface, yeah, they seem like no big deal. We just write off snoring as this annoying habit, right? But it can actually be a major sign of sleep apnea. And that feeling of, I'm just too tired, that makes us skip a workout, well, over time, that inactivity is a huge contributor to all sorts of chronic diseases. And that's the connection. They are both signals, little whispers from our body telling us that its super complex, interconnected systems are feeling the pressure. Snoring points to a stressed out respiratory system while you sleep. Skipping the gym points to a stressed out metabolic system. They're basically our body's early warning system.
Okay, so those are the whispers. But what happens when it's not a whisper anymore? What happens when a major shock hits the system, like a really bad infection or a major accident, and pushes one of those internal systems way past its breaking point? What happens when a system doesn't just whisper, but absolutely screams in total catastrophic failure?
Well, that brings us to this thing called disseminated intravascular coagulation, or just DIC for short. And it is a really serious disorder where the body's entire clotting system, the thing designed to save our lives, just goes completely haywire and becomes dangerously overactive on a massive scale. And this creates the ultimate paradox inside the body. It's an emergency response that is trying to save you and harm you at the exact same time. Think of it like this. Imagine a small fire starts in your kitchen. The sprinkler goes off. Great. But with DIC, it's like every single sprinkler in the entire house goes off at full blast, flooding everything and causing way more damage than the fire ever could have. That, in a nutshell, is DIC.
And this is where that mind-bending contradiction comes into play. On one hand, the body is creating thousands and thousands of tiny little blood clots everywhere, clogging up small blood vessels and literally starving your organs of oxygen. But then, at the exact same time, all of this frantic clotting uses up all your platelets, all your clotting factors, so when you get a real cut or start bleeding internally, there's nothing left in the tank to stop it. The body is clotting everywhere and bleeding everywhere, all at once. It's wild. So you have to wonder, how on earth does a devastating chain reaction like this even get started? Because this doesn't just happen out of nowhere. It's always a secondary thing, a disastrous domino effect kicked off by some other huge medical crisis. And the main triggers are all things that cause a massive shock to your system. We're talking about a severe body-wide infection like sepsis, major trauma like from a car crash or bad burns, certain types of cancer, and even some really rare but serious complications during pregnancy. Any one of these can ring the alarm bell for the entire body.
So what happens is, each of these triggers floods your bloodstream with these substances that basically scream, "Clot now," to the whole body. It's like pulling the fire alarm in every single room of a skyscraper at once. It just sets off this insane, uncontrolled cascade, a chemical chain reaction that the body has no way of stopping.
Okay, so if you've got clotting and bleeding happening at the same time, what do you even look for? What are the warning signs? And this is what makes it so tough to diagnose, because the symptoms are all over the place. They're totally contradictory, reflecting both sides of that paradox. Yeah, doctors really have to be detectives here, looking for clues in 3 different buckets all at once. So first, you've got signs of bleeding. Things like weird bruising, nosebleeds, that kind of stuff. Then you've got signs of clotting, which could be anything from pain in a leg to sudden shortness of breath as clots hit the lungs. And finally, you have these big systemic signs that the whole body is in crisis. Things like shock, confusion, a super fast heart rate. They have to piece it all together. This whole situation creates a massive medical emergency. It's like you're fighting a war on 2 fronts simultaneously. You can't just fix the bleeding because that might make the clotting worse. And you can't just fix the clotting because that can make the bleeding worse. It is an unbelievable tightrope walk. So the treatment strategy has to hit everything at once. First, and this is the most important thing, you have to go after the underlying cause. You have to shut off the fire alarm. If it's an infection, you pound it with antibiotics. While you're doing that, you're giving supportive care, transfusions of platelets and plasma to try and manage the bleeding. And then really carefully, in some cases, doctors might use anticoagulants to try and slow down the new clots from forming.
It's a delicate balancing act. So after hearing all that, the big question is, can you prevent this? Is there anything you can do to stop this terrifying thing from ever happening? And the answer is kinda no, but also yes. You see, there's no magic pill you can take to prevent DIC itself. But what you can do is build a really strong defense against the triggers that kick it off in the first place. So prevention isn't really about DIC, it's about stopping the things that lead to DIC. And that defense strategy is really just good, proactive healthcare. It means getting infections treated right away before they can turn into sepsis. It means managing chronic diseases really well. For expecting mothers, it's about regular prenatal checkups to catch any problems early. It's all about staying one step ahead. And this brings us full circle, right back to where we started, with snoring and skipping a workout. Because preventing the triggers for a catastrophe like DIC is based on the exact same idea: supporting your body's systems every single day in small ways. It turns out the solution is almost beautifully simple. Things like daily, moderate exercise can help prevent the very diseases that can end up becoming these triggers. So that 30-minute walk you take, it's not just a walk. It's a direct investment in your body's stability and its ability to handle stress. So, from a little snore at night to the most complicated medical crisis you can imagine, our bodies are talking to us constantly. The quiet signals of today could be what prevents the screaming emergencies of tomorrow. The only real question left is, are you listening?